Oh, someone left us. I'm just going to give you guys a couple of important reminders, and then I'm going to show you what today's class is. It's a little complicated, so I wanted to go live with you. First, remember that you need to turn in your projects if you haven't already. There's a link to a discussion board, so make sure that you go and put your project inside of there. I'm going to give you more instructions about that tomorrow in case you, or Wednesday, in case you didn't understand. Also, just a reminder that I sent out on Schoology, but please be patient with me about grading. It's going to take a long time to grade all those projects, so please don't ask me about them for at least like 2 weeks. Okay, so now I am going, hang on, hi.
Mrs. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For example, to turning the project is on the link, yeah?
Yeah, I think you already did it. So it was just on that discussion board, you just copy and paste your link, and that way I have all of them in one place.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen now to show you guys today's lesson. This is what you saw in today's lesson. So it starts out pretty simple. You're going to review a little bit about carbon. You have to open up this diagram and move things into one of the categories. Don't forget to do this part. Sometimes people forget, push edit. Then you're going to do a hypothesis about how our terrariums are surviving without new carbon being introduced. So definitely think about your water cycle as well to help you answer this. Now that you know how did it survive without new water, you could probably make a good hypothesis about how did it survive without new carbon. And then what you're going to do is watch a brain pop, answer some questions, and start playing this game. So anything that I say right now, you can also watch this video that Miss Ross made, and it's going to teach you about the game, but I'm going to show you the game now. So you'll click this, and it opens up this slideshow. And the first thing you have to do is you have to put it in present mode so that it looks like this. And there's a couple of slides with instructions. You're going to be a carbon atom. You're traveling through the carbon cycle. And then here's some examples about how to play. But I'll just go through it with you. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to roll a dice. If you don't have a dice at home, you can click this and it takes you to like a virtual dice online. So you can do that. And that's what I'll do. So I'm going to click this one and I'm going to let it open up a virtual dice for me. Because I definitely do not have dice at home. I have tons at school, but none here. So I rolled a 5. So I come back over here and I rolled a 5. So I'm going to click soil. So I'm starting my journey in soil. Okay. So then I roll the dice again. So let's say I roll a 3. So now I was in soil, but I rolled a 3, which means that now my atom of carbon is going to fossil fuels. So that means that my carbon molecule was in the soil for so long that it turned into a fossil fuel. And that's because I rolled the number 3. So I went from soil to fossil fuels. So now I click fossil fuels. I roll my dice again. If I get a 1, 2, 3, or a 4, I stay here. So I click here and I stay. And basically the goal of the game is that you're going to do that process 15 times. You're going to roll a dice 15 times and see where you go. So maybe I roll a 5 and I go to the atmosphere. Maybe I roll a 1 and now I go to a plant because I get used by photosynthesis. Okay, so I roll a dice 15 times. I find the matching number here. And then I click a link which takes me to the right slide. And you can learn all about like how carbon gets into the surface of the ocean, how does carbon get out of the surface of the ocean. And all the while that you're playing the game, you're tracking what happened to you here. So my first event, where was I? I was in soil. So I would type soil here. Okay. But I got to erase that because this is the document you guys are using. What happened to my molecule of carbon? I became a fossil fuel. So I would say stayed in the soil a long time, became a fossil fuel. So where did I go next? The next place that I went was fossil fuels. Okay. So then for my second round, where was I? I was in fossil fuels. What happened to me? I don't remember. I think I went fast through that one, but I would describe like the process of what happened, and then I would describe where I went next. I think the next place that I went was the atmosphere. So I would type atmosphere here and atmosphere here because that's where I am now. And then what happened to me in the atmosphere? I was absorbed by a plant for photosynthesis. So where am I now? I'm in a plant. So I would type plant here and plant here because that's where I start again. So you play 15 times, and the objective is we just want you to see how carbon travels throughout our world because you're much more familiar with the water cycle. But in terms of how carbon moves, I think we're a lot less familiar when we come into 6th grade. So we're just introducing you to the different ways that carbon can move. And that's it. You play the game 15 times, you record what happened to you, and then you submit your assignment. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting now. Does anybody have any questions about the game?
Miss Smith?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Fabiana.
At the end, like we should open like all of them? Or we're still gonna have some of them like not having any?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really possible that you might get stuck in fossil fuels for like 10 turns. If you keep rolling a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, you might not leave fossil fuels. And so, yeah, it's possible that you won't see every slide. And that's a good point. If you want to just make sure that you're a little more prepared for next class, when you're done playing the game, perhaps just like open the slideshow and read through the rest of them in case you didn't go to them. Okay, so it's not required in the game. You don't have to go to all of them, but you'll understand the carbon cycle better if you at least read every slide of the game.
Okay, thank you. But, I forgot.
Okay. Valeria, do you have a question?
Yeah. But it's not about like exactly about the class. It's about like school. Like when we're going to come back.
The date that we're going back right now is June 1st because the Ministry of Education has closed schools until May 31st.
So we're going to like basically go to school.
That's the plan right now, Valeria. And if anything changes, the school will send us an email. I know exactly what you guys know. Anytime Mr. Nagy contacts like all the parents and stuff, he also contacts the teachers. So I don't have any additional information except that the Ministry of Education announced that May 31st was the last day of schools being closed.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. I was just curious.
Okay. And obviously that could change, but I'll know the same time that you know. Okay. Any other?
I remember.
Oh, go ahead, Fabiana.
It doesn't matter if we repeat some things in the game?
No, not at all. It's very likely that you're going to repeat things. And next class, that's one of the things you're going to reflect on is like, where does carbon spend a lot of time and where does carbon not spend very much time?
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe if, like, for example, we can roll the dice more than the times that are like 14 of the slides.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to keep going afterwards, that's what we would have done in class. In class, we would have played 10 times, but if we still had class time, I would have let you keep going and keep going. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, Mrs.
Go ahead, Samuel.
Is that like I started the Google slide this morning, and I didn't understand the game
Mhm.
because when I rolled the dice, it appeared me one. When I already rolled the die, um, um, and I had the animals part,
Mm-hmm.
but when I rolled the one in the dice, I had to see in again in the animals,
Mhm.
and when I clicked in the link, it sent me to the animal link, and it appeared all the things. So I don't understand what to do there.
You just
It
roll.
appeared-
You just roll the dice again. So you would fill in all the information about animals twice. So like I started in animals, I stayed inside the animal, I ended an animal. And then your next round you would say I started an animal, and then you roll the dice again, and maybe you get a 2, a 3, or a 4 this time, and you get to move out of the animal.
Okay.
That just means that like a lot of carbon gets stored inside of us, and we don't automatically like exhale all of our carbon. Much of it becomes like a part of us and it stays inside of us. So when you roll a 1, you're representing the idea that carbon doesn't always immediately escape from an animal. It can stay trapped inside there.
Yes, but it also said that I was the carbon molecule is stored as a fat in the animal.
Uh-huh.
So I needed to say there that I am a molecule stored in the fat of an animal.
That's
that
yep.
I am
That's
as
what you
a
would
fat.
write. That's what you would write in the middle box on the table. You would write stored as fat in the animal, and then where did you end up? Animal. So it would say animal in the first box, stored in fat in the middle box, and then animal on the third box.
Okay, thank you, Mrs.
You are welcome. Any final questions, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
When in the Google Doc, when you used to like put the things that have carbon, I have a question.
Mhm.
The plants, they like need carbon to live.
Yep.
So they have like a part carbon in them, or it's just like something that comes inside and goes outside from them.
Yeah, so you're talking about the part where I asked you after the brain pop to write like places where there are carbon. You could just write the word plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, if there's no more questions, guys, I'll go ahead and hang up. I'm going to post this video of our chat to the rest of the class. So thanks for asking great questions. And it was wonderful to see you and hear you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.